Starbucks is closing yet another downtown Seattle location. And folks in Seattle, you know what they're saying? I wonder why they're closing it. Yeah, we know why. Let's get into it. Here we go. So sometimes I play unrelated videos. This one has to completely do with the scenario we're talking about. New lighting along Seattle's 3rd Avenue aims to reduce crime. So what we've got a Starbucks store on 5th Avenue, dose blocks away. And folks are, why are they closing it? Meanwhile, new lighting along Seattle's 3rd Avenue aims to reduce crime. That's the Blade. It's one of the worst streets in Seattle, one of top 2 worst crime streets in Seattle. And we've got the Starbucks 2 blocks over, and people are, maybe because they unionized? No, it's because you got a bunch of nut jobs on drugs, doing drugs, selling stolen goods, human trafficking, prostitution, you name it, shooting each other, literally murdering each other over the last few years. And then we wonder why, why is Starbucks closing? Let's watch this quick video. Here we go.
A bright solution to fighting back against crime. New lights have been strung up along a portion of 3rd Avenue between Virginia and Stewart in downtown Seattle. That's the area you see on your screen between those 2 red dots. It's part of Seattle's downtown activation plan meant to make people who work and live there feel safer. Fox 13's Dave Detling is live near those lights tonight. Dave, what are neighbors telling you about whether they think this will make a difference?
Hey, good evening. Well, you can see those lights shining bright behind me, and talking to some people, they say
them are some good lights. Now, remember, this is a brutal section of town. It's a tough section of town. You know what? I don't have a problem with hanging lights if it's one more thing, but it really shines a light on the situation. See what I did there?
is a good thing, but they also realize that this is not a major solution to crime and public safety in the area. But they say it is a step in the right direction.
I was actually shocked and surprised when I saw them going up.
Shift your focus from the street level towards the sky on 3rd Avenue, and you'll see what Alex Meyer sees every single day.
I think this kind of thing makes it just so much more palatable for those of us who live in the area.
Strands of lights, the bright bulbs crisscross 3rd Avenue between Stewart and Virginia streets. They were put up over the weekend as part of the city's downtown activation plan.
Tourists have complimented on the lights, saying how it lightens it up and the very unique touch.
It's not just aesthetic. These lights have been installed to try and fight back against crime and drug use. Rebecca Frazier lives downtown and believes it will work.
The homeless don't seem to like lights. Lights are noise. And I'm a recovering addict of 13 years, so it wasn't something we'd run under.
I knew the attachments and the forms we need signed and the permits we need, and I had all the building owner contacts.
Tom Graff with the neighborhood organization Belltown United helped community members work with the city to install the lights, and he believes they can bring positive change.
3rd Avenue is a challenging avenue in all of downtown. It's the toughest
challenging.
Or South Avenue. We've spent a lot of energy thinking about it and how to improve it. And lighting is one of these basic elements we're doing.
The lighting project comes in addition to colorful murals on empty storefronts.
3rd Avenue does feel better than it did 60 days ago.
He says it's all part of a bigger picture to reactivate the corridor. And that's something tourists and people who live downtown want to see more of.
It's a small gesture, but it means that we still care about this corridor, and we're not just going to give it up.
Let's head on over back to our Starbucks.
Well, Starbucks so far has been vague on the closure, but the company has certainly had its fair share of issues and challenges in the last couple of years.
As emergency vehicles go off in the background to yet another drug overdose.
Another Starbucks is set to disappear from the Seattle landscape. A notice on the door of the 5th and Pike location says the permanent closure is set for September 30th. It joins the Starbucks a few streets over at 1st and Pike that recently closed. Susie, who grew up...
Different Starbucks. So this is the second Starbucks within a couple of blocks. We'll pull up a map here in a second. We'll see what I'm talking about.
Here believes there are multiple reasons behind this most recent closure.
And I think there's just a lot more competition now, and they're probably concentrating more on what they need to be doing. It seems like there's a lot more homeless and a lot more people that appear to be on drugs. And so I think that it puts the people at Starbucks at a little bit of a risk.
While reported crimes have been trending down on this block, according to SPD data, what hasn't decreased are the number of challenges the company has faced in the last couple of years. Back then, it closed stores in the city due to high crime rates. Employees have pushed to unionize and have protested. And there has been a shakeup at CEO in an attempt to fix revenue issues.
Losing something like a Starbucks, a popular location, how does that affect you?
It scares me.
This closure impacts those like Eric, who co-owns Vandal's food truck. One less business means less foot traffic.
A lot of people will come in there for a beverage and then they'll walk by and then they'll see my taco truck and they'll be like, oh, like tacos sound good for lunch.
This is yet another addition to the downtown closures. Nike, Bartell, Saks, Lululemon, to name a few, while the city tries to open new businesses in the hopes of bringing people back.
A little more on the reason for the closure. Starbucks officials did tell me that they are constantly reevaluating their store portfolio. They also say they are currently working with the union representing the 17 employees at that Starbucks location to try and find them employment at a nearby location. Reporting in Seattle, Paul Rivera.
All right. So you got a Starbucks that's unionized, that is 2 blocks over from the worst section of downtown Seattle, period, other than maybe the International District where you've got 12th and South Jackson Street. That's horrific as well. It's just, it's an open air drug market and everything that comes with that. And Seattle has just kind of, looked a blind eye to all this stuff. And then, we're in such an echo chamber here in Seattle. I mean, not me, not you, because you're watching news for reasonable people. You're not watching news for unreasonable people. And we understand that when Starbucks has a big shakeup and you've got a store that's unionized, oh yeah, strike 1. Strike 2. Hey, we just closed another one a couple of blocks away and you're in the same proximity. You're even closer to the criminal element. So you've got issues of exposure for Starbucks corporate. And they're basically saying, no, yeah, we're done. Boom, down, closed. Now, the lighting that you saw is meant to literally shine some light on the scenario. The eastern side of 3rd Avenue between Pike and Pine is pretty dark. It's pretty just yeah, you know what I mean? You got buses coming in all day long. You've got a light rail stop there. You've got folks there all day long, but you've got some bad apples. You've got some bad seeds in that part of downtown Seattle. So this whole notion that, we're not really sure why Starbucks is closing. Yeah, because you've got a combination of factors that work against business, and folks in downtown Seattle, folks in Seattle in general, they just want to turn a blind eye to, any kind of crime going on. And that just doesn't work in reality. The reality is until you get this area of Seattle cleaned up and on a more permanent basis, until you get some more cops in there, till you get some more cops in Seattle in general, good luck with that, right? Because, the hardcore criminals they're just going to look up at the lights and go, all right, okay. So now I can, get my drug thing together and, I can light it. I got all the light I need. The one lady saying, homeless people don't like lights. That is true because they're trying to sleep, right? But people aren't necessarily sleeping on this section of town. This is criminal element. And so now you've just lit up their deal and they don't care. They're on a public street with high rises all around and they just do their thing because we don't have enough law enforcement to basically shut them down. Every now and then, when I went to the Metallica concert a few weekends ago, it was cleaned up. It was cleaned up, but we had a whole bunch of events that week that had come to Seattle. And this is literally, let's look at a map super quick. You may not care, but this is important. This is important stuff. All right. So Pike and Pine, 3rd Avenue, the Blade, worst part of Seattle. The Starbucks that is closing is on 5th Avenue, I think it is right here. That's closing. So it's literally 2 blocks over. And then the other Starbucks is right here that closed. So literally a couple of blocks. And then I believe the lights are somewhere right up here. I mean, it's all within, you can, if you had a good sized arm, you could throw a baseball to all of these sections from one spot. I mean, it's just that close together. So this whole notion of, oh, not really sure why we're closing down. We would like to thank you for being part of the store community. It's been a great pleasure to connect with you every day. Please join us at our surrounding stores. You can go to our location here, just not really in downtown Seattle because, it's pretty dangerous there. And we got some more bright lighting in some parts of town, but, it's probably not going to do anything for the whacked out drug addicts who tend to look down and not up. Oh, it's a great day. Lots of light. More than a month ago, the company closed its popular First Avenue and Pike Street location. Yeah. Company spokesperson said the store will reopen again, but the timeline is vague. It's not reopening. It's not reopening. We said that about the last one. And then they took all the lettering off and they just basically closed it down and said, oh yeah, we're going to reopen in the near future. No, you're not. The now vacant site is at First Avenue and Pike Street, just across from the Pike Place Market, where cruise ship passengers swarm the streets. Think about that. You have literally a couple million people, cruise ships come to Seattle. And Seattle is known for Starbucks, right? And they're closing down these locations. Maybe it's the union. Do unions ever do anything good? I don't know. In the last year, trouble has been brewing at the Seattle-born and based coffee giant. A new CEO was announced. All right, so let's go down the other roads of, hey, we got a new CEO. Maybe he's trying to mix things up. Amid decreasing revenue on a local level, employees at certain locations have worked to unionize as they push for better pay and better staffing, and that is not ceased. Well, now, how's that union looking now that your store closed? Hey, maybe we'll get you a job. Yeah, one of our other stores, but guess what? Yeah, those won't be unionized. I don't know. Last month, Starbucks also closed its popular Alki Beach location. That was a head scratcher as well. Alki Beach is in West Seattle. It's on the northern end of West Seattle. It looks back towards downtown Seattle. Epic location. Just got a scooch of crime there. Just a little bit of criminal element, especially during summer when it's hot. This led some customers to start a petition to try and save it, the Alki Beach Starbucks location, but they were unsuccessful. Corporate does not give a rat's ass. They have this little thing called profit and shareholder value. And if they don't, work in a positive manner towards either of those, they tend to close the store down. It's just like Target. And why are we closing down the store, the Target store? There's other Targets in the area that have more criminal activity. Yeah, but they were making money. So we're going to take that one. We're going to run that one. This other one that's got the criminal activity because, the neighborhood sucks and we don't have enough police. Well, yeah, I mean, this stuff isn't that hard to figure out, right? So there's the notification, Starbucks is closing. After careful consideration, we've determined it's best to close the store at 2742 Alki Avenue. That was the Alki one. As a standard course of business, we continually evaluate our store portfolio. This is the corporate talk, right? We always talk about the corporate talk. They got to put out a statement just basically saying, we're closing up shop. But if you've followed these stories and if you're a Seattleite, you know what the deal is. It's not worth it to hassle with the union. It's not worth it to hassle with the location where you don't know if your employees and or your customers are going to get assaulted by some whacked out nut job that the city of Seattle is just allowed to coexist on our streets, homeless. Just not that hard to figure out. But if you talk to Seattle people, you know what they'll say? I heard another Starbucks is closing. It's shocking. I don't get it. I mean, Seattle's known for Starbucks, right? Yeah, but did you see where it was on the map? No. Do you read any news stories? Not really. Not if they're bad. I want to live in a bubble. Yeah, you're doing a good job. So many people in Seattle live in a bubble. You'll tell them a crime stat and they'll go, in Seattle? Really? Or you'll tell them about the number of police we have and they'll go, oh, That's not good. When did this happen? When did this transpire? Well, during the last 15, 20 years when you were watching CNN exclusively. How's that working out for you? Oh, yeah. I don't want to watch that far right network. Fox. Can't do that. That's a no-go. Well, all right. Tune into news for reasonable people then. Oh, that doesn't sound reasonable. Spokesperson for Mayor Bruce Harrell spoke about the ongoing work to revitalize downtown. That's what the lights are for. Since launching the Downtown Activation Plan last year, we've made progress on many of the near-term goals, including expanding street-level commercial uses to attract more businesses. What they're trying to do is flush out the bad element. And Seattle is working towards that. And the lights overhead, I agree with. I think those are a good call. They are one more detriment. They're one more tool in your toolbox that you use to fix that broken window. Remember the broken window theory? Start at the base level. You do everything, and then eventually things turn around. You go to the smallest thing, the broken window, get that fixed up, get things looking good, and then you work your way through the issues. And that is what Seattle is doing, but it's going to take a long time. And guess what? Businesses who have to make decisions on non-performing stores, they don't have the option of time. Closed. So that's 2 Starbucks closed within the last couple of months in downtown Seattle. What does that tell you? Oof, yeah. Okay. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.